Hey everybody, welcome back. As you can see, we're finally back in the mountains and we're here for a little bit of an overnight adventure. So I got my son along with me this time, and we're going to test the bucket stove that we made in the garage over the weekend and test our skills in the backcountry in a true winter environment. Temperature's a little bit colder, minus 16 here today, minus 20 overnight, and we brought some tarps and some blankets, a little bit of good food. Brought our rifles along, so we might do a little bit of shooting, and we're just here to have a good time and enjoy the outdoors. So come on along. Let's see what the day has in store for us. So as I said, it's a beautiful day here, minus 16. It has a good amount of snow, and we're heading for those peaks in the distance there. As I mentioned, I got my son here with me today, and he's sporting his World War II era wool surplus outfit, and I got more of a present day mix of desert Marpat and Under Armour. He's carrying his SKS surplus, and I've got the Winchester Model 94 that I did a video of a few days ago. So real mix of styles. We're gonna see who makes out better here when we do this overnighter at minus 20. All right, we're gonna carry on here. We're gonna do about 10-12 kilometers today. Set up camp, so that's gonna be 6-7 miles, and by that time we'll be off this beaten path here. We're on kind of a snowmobile track. It's going to veer off, and then we'll be breaking ground through some trails. So that's when the fun will actually start. We'll get into some deeper snow. We got the snowshoes, and should be a good time. Well, here we are, a couple of miles in. I thought I'd just give you a quick panorama. That little patch of ice there is normally a raging creek in the summertime. So it looks like we're gonna have to melt snow for water. That's okay. That's what we expect out here in the winter. So as I said, we're on this bit of a snowmobile track right now. But we're gonna be leaving that in another mile or so, and then we'll be off into the bush where it'll feel a little bit more like winter. All right, slogging through the bush here. It's getting late in the afternoon, so it's time to set up a camp. We just staked out a bit of a spot there, and we're gonna clear some snow, level it out a little bit, get these sleds unpacked, and get working on the shelter. Make sure you got enough daylight here to get it all done. Okay, so we got the basic tarp shelter set up. It's getting late in the day here. Temperature's starting to drop a little bit. Basically, we got one larger tarp for the top, for the roof, and we've got two smaller tarps, one on each end basically, and then just an extra small piece of tarp that we fashioned a doorway. And fasten these tarps onto the end of the shelter, just used inexpensive tarp clips and the ridge line. Of course, you guys have all seen this. That's the stick in the rope trick to make sure you got a nice taut ridge line. So everything came together fairly well. Got some snow on the bottom. A little oversized tarp is the way to do it. And as it worked out, we've even got some sides there. So we haven't got ourselves organized or stuff put away yet, but it's all coming together. So that's a bit of a walk around view. Snow's not too deep in these trees here. probably about just over a foot, but that's the back side of the other end. So brought a little stove jack along. We'll get our stove set up, and that's what Jess is doing there right now, assembling the bucket stove. And we're gonna poke a hole out the side of the tarp there, hang a stove jack, and then get to chopping some wood. So yeah, I think everything came together pretty well. It's actually nice and warm inside there. We haven't even got a fire going yet. So I think just the ground itself cleared the snow off, and some nice soft pine needles on the forest floor there. Seems to have warmed up the inside already, and like I said, we haven't even got a fire going yet. So it's all coming together. We'll come back in a little bit when got the stove together and the fire going, and maybe the inside a little bit more organized. So we got the stove all assembled, and I ended up putting that strapping on the legs so that it would just stabilize a little bit, and so that worked out quite well. And I brought a couple of pieces of pipe along. So we're going up fairly high with a long run of pipe. I got an elbow there, and for a stove jack, I just brought along one of those end caps that I had flattened out, just flattened the edges out, and cut a 3-inch hole in there, and drilled some holes. And I wasn't quite sure what we were going to do with it, but in the end, right behind this tarp wall here is a tree, and so I brought along a couple little nails. We just fastened that through the tarp to the tree, so that stove jack isn't going anywhere. And I did punch a hole in the tarp, but it's a $3 tarp, so no big deal. I'm sure we'll use it again at some point, and if we don't, well, it was less than breakfast on the way here. So we're going to spark this thing up and see how it works. Overall, I think it's going to work quite well and keep us nice and warm and toasty. I know some of you were asking as I was building that thing, why don't I just put that on a couple of rocks that I'm going to find out in the bush there? And yeah, that would work in the summertime, but here in the wintertime, we cleared off 18 inches of snow from underneath our tarp shelter here. And I don't think there's a rock to be found within miles of our location and under all that snow. And if it was there, I'm sure it would probably be frozen to the ground. So those feet worked out quite well, and everything's come together nicely. So we'll get a fire going and see how warm it keeps this tarp shelter. So just cutting up some firewood here. There's a good abundance of some dead pines here, which are gonna make for a nice hot fire tonight. But I thought I'd do something a little bit different on this trip. Rather than bringing my bow saws or folding saws, got all kinds of different saws. You saw me use this one in my furniture video. And what this is a carpenter saw. Truth is, probably everybody's got one of those in their garage or tool shed. This one, I just bought this. It was pretty cheap, like 40 bucks, but what it is, it's an aggressive crosscut saw. So let's put it in the light a little bit more there. This one's made by Irwin, but Stanley makes them. I think a Fat Max, but you can see the teeth on there. Pretty aggressive. And it's got those extra little cleaning notches there. So I thought I'd give that a try here, and so far I've made quite a few cuts with it, and it'll go through this 4-inch log pretty quickly. So didn't bring my tripod this time. I'm going to try and cut with one hand and work the saw. See how jittery this is. again one-handed here, but just trying to be as smooth as I can for you on the camera. There we go. Maybe we'll straddle it so I can hold it a little better. Again, less than ideal conditions, but you saw just, I don't know what that was. A minute one-handed, not even holding the branch, and that was only about 3 inches, but they cut through that pretty quick. So just thought I'd show that one to you. This is called an Irwin crosscut saw, about 30 to 40 bucks, depending if you're Canadian or American and where you buy it. So there you go, a little bit something different for this trip. So here we are, about 6 o'clock. Finally getting settled in. We got some wood cut with our new best friend Irwin, and should be enough to keep us going through the night. We got the paint and the labels all burned off the stove, and got a nice cozy fire going in there. A little bit of daylight left, but the chimney's working well. Our makeshift stove jack is also working well. We didn't get any more melting, other than just a little bit around the edges of where that went through. Got a little bit of vent on the top, and ready to relax for a couple minutes and then make some dinner. So I think we're pretty much organized here. We got our stove working well. I got all the paint and labels burned off. We did that before we crawled into the tent. So we got a nice clean fire burning. Got our wood all cut, ready for the night. Got the nice warm glow of a kerosene lantern hanging off the ridge line at the ceiling, and so we're going to keep that going all night for a little bit of a night light. And it's we're just ready to make some dinner. So tonight's selection, we've been looking forward to this all day. We're going to have 4 cheese mashed potatoes with some real cheese mixed in and some bacon. And we're going to cook that all up in a pot and have a little bit of a feast here. So ready for some dinner, and then after that, probably an early night. All right, there we go. We got 4 cheese mashed potatoes with bacon and real marble cheese mixed in there. Num num. Doesn't get any better than that on the trail. Getting the rest of it mixed up. Fire going, toes warm. Having a party.
Oh yeah.
So it's midnight, and I just put a little bit more wood on the fire, and things are going well. I thought I would just show you the temperature. Down at the stove end, it's fairly warm. See if we can get that there. Plus 12 at our feet, Celsius. But I gotta tell you, about an hour ago, at the other end of the tent where our heads are, I measured it at minus 17. So I'm gonna move the thermometer down to the other end again, and we'll check it in an hour and see if it's any warmer or any colder. Okay, so it's morning. We survived a -20 night here in the backcountry with our homemade bucket stove, and we're gonna pack up and head home. So just gonna take one last little look around and show you what's left of our wood pile. We actually used about a foot high on that side. We got most of that wood left there, so from about 7 o'clock to 10 a.m. The little bucket stove that we made was pretty darn efficient. So all in all, the coldest temperatures at the head end of the tent were still -19 inside, but at the foot end we're a nice toasty +15 Celsius. So feet were warm, most of our bodies were warm, but the head end was still a little chilly. So but I think that's the way it works when you got a wood stove at one end of a tarp shelter. So that's it. One little last look around. We'll get the sleds packed up and we're gonna head on out of here. Okay, thanks for watching. That's it for today. As always, like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, take it easy.